This out a little bit late. It's been a busy weekend. I don't need to hear about why it was busy. Trust me, it was busy. Okay, so first off, congratulations on completing the course. By this time, the course is now closed, and this is just our weekend wrap up to kind of go over some of the discussion points. Because I certainly have my own thoughts and opinions, but I feel like that they're well grounded in the evidence. At least they try to be, although we all have our biases, and certainly I do as well. Just a reminder, some basic housekeeping stuff. Make sure all course assignments for Block 4 are completed. Take the course survey, please. I don't think you can actually officially complete the course unless you take the survey. And make sure to copy and paste any articles that you want in the Dropbox. I forgot to include, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to both Ben and Jonathan for being our TAs. It's a lot of work. I know that it's hard for them. They have other things that are going on, and I certainly appreciate their ability to help me out. This course, there's a lot of logistics behind the scenes that go on in these courses, and making sure that things run smoothly, and just being able to dump a section off to them for a block is helpful for me. It allows me to do other things and to get to you guys and answer questions and emails that I get from you all that you can't see. So I do appreciate their help. Let's talk about what we were going over for the week. So Achilles tendinopathy, load the tendon. It's not all about stretching, right? I think the days of stretching are slowly but surely coming to an end. I don't know if you've been able to get in the tone of my posts and my response posts. Not a huge fan of stretching. There's very little utility in stretching. Some of the things in some of the CPGs recommend it. I believe that over time we'll find that it has minimal utility. I think that these are connective tissue, tendon-related problems that need to be loaded, and Achilles tendinopathy is no different. I talked a lot to you guys about between the HSR and the eccentric. I'm a fan of the eccentric because I think anybody can do it anywhere, and that's why I like it. I have this progression in my mind that we can do some isometrics, that we can do some isotonics. We can start with 2 feet, we can go to 1 foot, we can start on the floor. From the floor, we can go to the stair, increase the motion, go from 2 feet to 1 foot, increase the number of reps. We can throw a backpack on, we can put a weight in their hand. Most people have access to that. I'm all about the greatest common denominator. However, if the person have access to some kind of weight, then let's get after it. Let's use that. I have no problem with that. And obviously heavy, slow loading. I think what the important thing about heavy, slow loading is to remember is that maybe you can start to do that in anything that you do, right? That actually forcing people to slow down and move through that and hold on end range is actually a good thing. And that, my apologies for that. And that this is a good way to increase neuromotor control, right? And so think about that as you move forward, that maybe you should slow people down and make them use their system and their nervous system more than anything. The one thing about the ankle article that Whitman did, it was very purposeful in its intent. It wanted people to stop doing RICE, basically, and not be afraid to use manual therapy. There was a couple of posts where people were like, yeah, I tried these manips on the ankle, and I was a little intimidated because I thought this might hurt them, and they were actually better. Lo and behold, right? Think of manual therapy as an analgesic. Apply it as you can, obviously monitoring the patient whenever you do any kind of hands-on work, always watching their response, never forcing it upon them, making sure that they're comfortable with it, but on all honesty, they should be better. And don't be surprised when it works, right? Like this is how it should be. But that article is very purposeful in its intent in trying to get people to say, hey, use manual therapy to reduce pain, and then start loading them, right? Loading them. The heel pain CPG. So like I personally disagree a little bit with this, but I will follow the evidence, but I'll include mine. Like I'm a big fan. So in my mind, heel pain is either weak connective tissue and poor intrinsics. So we're gonna do short foot exercises, and we're gonna do some heel raises, and we're gonna work the muscles of the surrounding foot, or has a neurodynamic component to it. There's neurogenic heel pain, right? And so then we're going to do some nerve glides. We may bias sural, we may bias post tibial nerve, we may bias fibular nerve, but we're going to get after that, because if it's sharp burning, like I got a guy right now who's got sharp burning pain. I lie him down, I mobilize his hip, we do what he considers a hamstring stretch. I put him on the edge of a table, have him just do some forward bending, and he's like, wow, that doesn't go away, but it goes from a 7 down to a 4. Okay, now let's do some short foot exercises. Let's get you stronger, right? And that's how I view that. Now I can certainly stretch him, and I do my manual therapy stuff. I make sure his ankle moves well, but ultimately that's just a pain response. We're not changing mobility of the foot. Now, in regards to the case study, personally, I thought she did a great job of applying a manual therapy technique to get her foot to move. But what it looked like to me was her foot was moving fine when it was done. Okay, so let's load it. I believe that she was not doing a good job training her lower half. She was not. This is a acute on chronic condition. She needed, and this is classic for runners, they don't load enough. She needed to be doing 2 days a week of weight training, and she wasn't. At least I didn't hear that. And that was one of the things that kind of annoyed me about, that was the one question I kept wanting to hear, and I never heard it. It was a lot about stretching. Even in the first initial conversation, she's like, I probably don't stretch enough. And even the PT was like, yeah, you got to stretch. Like, I don't think you got to stretch. Muscles get tight as a response to weakness. So you can stretch temporarily, and that's all well and good, but you're not treating the problem. The problem is the weakness. Get after the weakness. And in my mind, after she got done mobilizing that foot, which she did a great job of, you can check in with it, but it's not going to get tight again unless it gets tired. And so she could go run, and it might get a little tight after that. But let's start to load that foot. What are we waiting for? That would be my question. What are we waiting for? If her motion is normal, let's load. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant, but those are my 2 cents. And again, this is my opinion. I like to think it's based on some fact, and I've been doing this for 19 years, so there is some evidence, or there is some anecdotal evidence that I have behind me. But obviously, I don't want to sound like some guy who's just shooting off. I try to use the evidence to support what I'm thinking. But think about that. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's how I would have approached it. So that's my kind of wrap up of. We can go to the one thing I'll say about the stats: confidence intervals. You guys all seem to get, or y'all knew what specificity and sensitivity were, and that's fine. And my only point was understand that they have wide. And it seemed like everybody got confidence intervals too. But my whole point was if their confidence intervals are wide, that means there's a huge discrepancy in the data. Right? We want narrow confidence intervals because then we know that everybody, all those data points for specificity or all those data points of sensitivity, we can really rely on. That they're all kind of clustered together. So they're telling us good information. But if we have a low end and we got wide confidence intervals, you might as well throw that out because it's not helpful. It's certainly not going to be reproduced. All right. Okay, so I went over the patient cage and the treatment approach. Really enjoy working with you guys. Really enjoyed the dialogue that I was able to get from you. I always learn from these courses. You teach me, and I really appreciate that. Hopefully you were able to take things away. Feel free to reach out at any time. I'd love to be a resource if I could help in any possible way. It's a great profession that we have. Remember, it's constantly evolving. What we learn today may not be true tomorrow, may not be true in 3 years. So continue to follow the evidence. Engage in the research, but don't let this point, 2018, fall of 2018, be your springboard for the next 20 years of what you know about the lower extremity and the evidence. Continue to follow it and use it to guide you. Thanks again to Jonathan and Ben, and I wish you all the best and good luck in your educational journey, and hopefully that you continue to strive for being that growth mindset and asking for more from your profession. Take good care. Good luck to you all.